Fight fans, welcome to the PBC Podcast, brought to you by Premier Boxing Champions with your host, Kenneth Bouhairie and Michael Rosenthal.
Welcome everyone to the PBC Podcast. I'm Kenneth Bouhairie.
And I'm Michael Rosenthal, editor of USA Today's Boxing Junkie.
Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. This week, we've got lightweight contender Cruz joining us, plus super featherweight contender Primetime Colbert will be stopping by as well. Of course, we're going to break down and analyze this Saturday's huge PBC on Showtime Pay-Per-View featuring Gervonta Tank Davis versus Hector Luis Garcia. And in this week's toe-to-toe segment, we're going to recap the PBC 2022 awards and let you guys know what we feel about each winner, whether we agree or disagree. I'm sure we'll have some good thoughts on that. But as mentioned, we do have with us lightweight contender, one of the best in the world, one of the rising stars of the sport, Pitbull Cruz. Isaac, we want to wish you a very happy new year. And we wanted to know, where were you and did you do anything fun for New Year's Eve?
Pues sí, estuvo todo divertido, aprovechando, disfrutando a mi esposa, a mis hijos y bueno, compartiendo momentos con la familia ahora que se pudo. Y bueno, ahorita ya vamos a retomar nuevamente el gimnasio.
Yeah, we had a blast with the family, sharing time with my wife and my kids, loving that. And now we are ready to get back to business and we are going to get rolling with training soon enough.
It's interesting because outside the ring, you're a family man. You always have a warm smile for your fans. You're one of the nicest guys in the sport. Yet inside the ring, you're one of the most vicious fighters today. Can you talk a little bit about both sides and how is it that you're always lighting up the room with your smile, and how do you switch that off?
Pues yo he venido trabajando desde muy pequeño en separar las cosas, el trabajo y pues lo familiar, ¿no? Lo familiar no puedo ser la misma persona dentro del trabajo y bueno, pues en el trabajo sé que está de por medio mi vida, entonces tengo que dejar y entrego todo arriba del ring para que el fanático sea el ganador al final de la pelea.
Pero ¿y cómo haces? ¿Cómo te mentalizas cuando tenés que hacer ese switch?
Pues me mentalizo conforme al campamento. Cuando estoy trabajando en el campamento también trabajo en lo mental y bueno, pues para llegar de la mejor manera arriba del ring, pero siempre y cuando con la responsabilidad de no lastimar ni de afectar al contrincante.
Well, it's a slow burn, really, where I focus during training camp into making that transformation. Ever since I was little, I made sure to separate my business life and my personal life. Being inside the ring, it's all business for me. So that's where I am, what you say, the vicious fighter that wants to knock my opponent out. But outside the ring, I make sure that I take care of my family and my family comes before everything. And, in a way, I also make sure that when I get inside the ring that my opponent, that, I don't do any unnecessary harm to my opponent, and that transformation, as you call it, is always within what I want to do, and not harming anybody.
I like that. Isaac, you're one of the more popular fighters, in part because of your seek and destroy, hold no prisoners style. Have you always fought like that? And where does that come from? Where does that approach to boxing come from?
Pues yo siempre fui un peleador aguerrido que nunca me ha gustado dejar nada para el siguiente round. Siempre me ha gustado ser un peleador que da todo desde el primer round hasta la última campanada. Y bueno, pues creo que se ha venido demostrando arriba del ring, ¿no? Con palabras. Y bueno, yo siempre y cuando lo voy a seguir demostrando así como lo he hecho.
I've never been the kind of fighter that lets the fight come to him. I go to the fight. And I've always been the kind of fighter that just goes out and gives his best from the very first second of the first round until the bell rings in the final seconds. So in a way, that aggressive nature has always been with me. It's just been a matter of refining it through the years.
So that type of nonstop style requires an unusual level of fitness. How are you able to maintain your level of fitness, and what's your secret, or is there a secret?
Sí, totalmente, es una condición impresionante y bueno, con eso la adquirimos con la decisión y la disciplina que tenemos constantemente en el gimnasio durante el campamento.
Absolutely. I am in unbelievable shape, and there is really no secret. It comes down to being disciplined and doing what I have to do inside the training camp and being disciplined outside of it as well.
Who were your favorite fighters when you were learning the ropes?
Pues nunca he tenido así un ídolo o diferentes ídolos dentro del boxeo. Me ha gustado siempre obtener buenas cosas de diferentes peleadores.
¿Como quiénes?
Como Mike Tyson, Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel Márquez, Salvador Sánchez.
Tyson, Pacquiao, Sánchez, ¿y cuál era el otro?
Márquez.
Márquez, perdón, sí. So I never really had an idol per se, where I never really looked up to somebody and put them on a pedestal, but I have always studied different kind of fighters that caught my eye and that I wanted to emulate. You know, Tyson, Márquez, Salvador Sánchez. They have really been role models for me. Pacquiao as well. Those four were the ones that I really looked up to when I was coming up.
Yeah, it's been we're 2 fights removed from your fight with Gervonta Davis. You gave him a tougher fight than everyone else. How did your performance in that fight change your career?
Pues fue un cambio radical en lo personal, en lo profesional y pues para el equipo de Isaac el Pitbull Cruz, porque fue una pelea que pues era el plan de trabajo yo creo que a mediano plazo, entonces no esperábamos que fuera tan rápido, entonces nosotros cuando nos dijeron que era la oportunidad, pues no tomamos una segunda respuesta. En el primer punto la obtuvimos esa gran oportunidad y bueno, ya después de la pelea pues dimos un gran golpe a la división, dimos una gran demostración que estábamos para las grandes peleas y para los grandes nombres y bueno, pues vio el mundo del boxeo, todo el fanático que Gervonta no era imposible, ¿no? Que nosotros en lo personal con el tiempo adecuado y con la preparación adecuada pues podemos dar la sorpresa. Pues la gente reconoció a Isaac el Pitbull Cruz y que la gente después de esa noche pues se acercó más hacia un mexicano.
Well, I can tell you that my life changed radically after that fight. Before it, to be honest with you, Team Cruz and we thought that it was a longer-term play to fight Gervonta Davis. Let's say medium-term as far as planning for that fight. But when we got the opportunity and they told us, hey, here is Gervonta Davis, take it or leave it, we took it. And that fight and how well we fought changed absolutely everything from me. And the one thing that I noticed and that I'm loving right now is the fact that the fans are even closer to me now. And that fans all over the world have another Mexican fighter to look up to.
It's amazing that you can step forward after losing a fight, isn't it?
Sí, totalmente. Ahora sí que no fue una derrota con ese sabor, ¿no? Que fue aplastante, ¿no? Sino fue una derrota que supo a victoria por el simple hecho de que no fuimos uno de los oponentes que fueron noqueados, ¿no? Sino que le complicamos desde el primer round la pelea a Gervonta y que lo sacamos fuera de su plan de trabajo, fuera de serie a él y a su equipo y bueno, demostramos que también nosotros aguantamos no nada más el primero, el segundo, el tercer round, quizás hasta el quinto, que aguantamos toda la pelea con la misma presión y con la misma gana de seguir hacia adelante.
You're right. It wasn't a crushing loss where it took me down. It was the complete opposite. It was a loss that felt like a victory in a way because I didn't get knocked out. I gave Gervonta everything that he could handle, and I showed, especially in the first 5 rounds, that I could go toe to toe with him. So that changed the way that the boxing world looked at me, and the way that they saw Gervonta in a way too, because he couldn't manhandle me. So I was really pleased with the way that everything. Not really pleased in the way that everything turned out, like, because in the end I lost. But I was pleased in the way I fought and the way I handled everything.
Did it bother you when he said after the fight that he fought with a hand injury?
Pues no fue molestia, simplemente que fue algo con lo que se quiso él reescudar para decir que no me pudo noquear por lo de su mano. Y bueno, yo como lo dije, ¿no? Yo peleé desde antes de que se empezara la pelea con el nudillo igual lastimado, y no fue ningún pretexto para así tirar la pelea, sino al contrario, me aferré y sacamos la pelea y lo pusimos en aprietos a Gervonta.
And look, it didn't bother me. I mean, it's his prerogative to put excuses like that to shield himself from the reality of what that fight was. And I also had my knuckles bruised during that fight, and even a little bit before it. But I didn't make excuses. I made sure that I came out even stronger out of it and learned valuable lessons from this fight. But I would never put an excuse like that for the outcome of that fight.
Davis is now saying that he'd knock you out in a rematch. First, would you like a rematch? And second, what do you think about his prediction?
Pues sí, claro, totalmente. Yo acepto el reto, estoy para cuando él diga que quiere la revancha, nada más que se anime, porque pues es fácil de hablar por redes sociales y muy difícil que lo cumpla, ¿no? Entonces, pues de que dice que me va a noquear, está bien. Yo respeto su opinión. Yo no estoy manco, yo no voy a llegar como carne de cañón, me voy a preparar y a ver quién cae de cualquier lado, él o yo.
Look, he wants to talk on social media, fine by me. But you know what? I'll be more than up to the challenge whenever the rematch comes my way. Let him name the day and time. I'll be more than ready. I'm no cannon fodder. And it's one thing to talk shit on social media. The other is to actually step up into the ring and make that a reality. Let's see if he's up to it. I'm more than up to it whenever he wants.
Yeah, Davis is fighting Hector Luis Garcia on Saturday. How do you see that fight going?
Pues va a ser una pelea igual muy dura para ambas partes. Los dos son peleadores que son zurdos, pero Hector Garcia trae un hambre impresionante de estar igual, pues, derribando a todo el oponente que le pongan, y Gervonta pues va a tratar de retroceder para contrarrestar el golpeo, y bueno, es una pelea que está 50-50.
It's a 50-50 fight in my eyes. I mean, Hector Garcia is having an unbelievable time right now, where he's steamrolling all of his opponents, and he's going to knock anybody out that stands in his way. While Gervonta, I think that he's going to be a little bit on his back foot and trying to counter Hector's aggressiveness. So it's going to be a really good fight.
What does Garcia have to do to shock the world?
Estar tirando su cruzado de izquierda nada más una vez, y estarlo agarrando con gancho abajo y luego cambiárselas arriba, y se lo puede conectar muy bien a Gervonta, que es lo que hace muy bien Héctor.
Well, Hector attacks the body really well. So that's what I would think that he has to do. And also, he only needs to connect with his hook one time. Have it land one time flush, and that could be the difference in the fight. So, alternate between attacking the body and going up to the head and also attacking that. So just be relentless, and that will be the key for him.
So if Davis wins, he's agreed to fight Ryan Garcia. Do you think Davis wins that fight?
Pues de un lado está la reina de las redes sociales, que es Ryan García, y de otro lado está Gervonta. Y bueno, pues le apostarían a un golpe a ver quién de los dos primero conecta, nada más.
Well, on one side, you have the queen of social media, which is Ryan Garcia, and then you have Gervonta on the other side. We all know what he's all about. So in my eyes, in that fight, it will be all about who gets to land that first big punch. That will be the biggest key in that fight.
So Isak, you've been called out or linked to a lot of the top lightweights, Davis, Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson, which means you're in the mix for these big fights, obviously. Tell us the 2 or 3 guys you want most and the order you'd like to fight them.
Pues me gustaría enfrentar en primer punto ya sea a Gervonta o a Haney. Posteriormente, ¿por qué no a Shakur? Y luego pues a Lomachenko.
Okay, so I have 4 fighters in mind. First of all, I would like to face either Gervonta or Haney. Then I would like to face off against Shakur Stevenson. And to top it off, why not go up against Lomachenko?
Okay, let's do it.
You've obviously had a lot of success, but you haven't won a world title yet. Does that motivate you, or is who you fight more important than just getting the belt around your waist?
Pues es un complemento, ¿no? Porque el cinturón es un sueño que ha sido desde pequeño y pues el nombre del oponente es algo que va a dar más creatividad para la gente hacia que esté contigo, hacia el apoyo, hacia con el boxeador.
It's not an either-or proposition. The belt is something that I've craved ever since I was little. That's the dream. But I also am aware of the fact that the quality of the opponent and how hard it is to overcome the challenge in order to obtain that belt is what gives you that credibility, and it makes the achievement even bigger. So I think they go hand in hand, and I'll be able to meet any challenge and any opponent that comes my way until I get that belt.
You last fought in September, which is only a few months ago. When can we expect to see you back in the ring?
Espero que para finales de marzo, principios de abril, estar regresando nuevamente al cuadrilátero.
I think that I'm going to be back in the ring either by late March or early April.
Okay. Can you give us an idea of who or what type of opponent that you'll face in your very next fight?
Pues todavía no he platicado con la empresa, con Sean Gibbons, y bueno, pues estaremos, yo creo que en las próximas semanas, dándoles alguna información de cuándo y posiblemente un nombre de algún rival.
I really haven't talked in depth with Sean Gibbons or with my team yet, but trust me, you're going to get that information soon enough as far as who my opponent will be during those dates.
Okay, just a couple more questions. So you fought twice last year. Is that the plan, to fight 2 times each year now, or would you like to fight more often?
Pues por el momento me siento satisfecho, contento con 2 peleas al año, pero si se puede llegar a un estimado de 3 o 4 peleas sería fantástico, siempre y cuando sean peleas o victorias que no sean de largo alcance dentro de la pelea, y pues se pueden hacer las 4, que bueno, y si no, con 2 estaría perfecto también.
I'm comfortable with 2 fights a year, no problem with that. I'm satisfied, but hey, if I have the chance to fight 3 or 4 times a year, that's fantastic. Bring it on, but only as long as those fights that come my way are high quality fights. I don't wanna fight just to fight.
Makes sense. Okay, finally, Canelo Alvarez obviously is the top Mexican star at the moment, and guys like Juan Francisco Estrada, they're still active. They're not getting any younger though, and you're only 24. Can you see yourself as the biggest boxing figure in your country? And if so, what would that mean to you?
Sí, totalmente. Ahora sí que me siento con la capacidad de adquirir una gran responsabilidad, y por qué no ser un ícono a nivel mundial y representante de México dentro del boxeo, y yo estoy listo para cuando se llegue ese momento.
I'm absolutely ready to take on that passing of the torch and represent Mexico on the world stage. I'm capable of making everybody proud.
Isak, muchas gracias. Thanks so much for the time. We enjoyed talking to you, and we look forward to talking to you again sometime in the near future.
Muchas gracias a ustedes por la atención y que tengan un excelente inicio de año. Feliz año 2023. Un abrazo. Bendiciones.
Thank you, guys. Happy New Year. I hope you guys have a blessed 2023.
4 straight sellouts. 3 division championships.
Lethal left uppercut!
The one and only Gervonta Tank Davis puts his perfect record on the line against one of the fastest rising boxers in the sport. Unbeaten Hector Luis Garcia, plus knockout artist Jaron Boots Ennis. Tank Davis versus Hector Luis Garcia, Saturday, January 7th, live on pay-per-view.
It's time for the PBC fight of the week, although in this case it could be fights of the week because this card is so stacked, I should say. Saturday, January 7th at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. Unbeaten, 5-time world champion Gervonta Tank Davis takes on unbeaten world champion and Hector Luis Garcia for Davis's WBA lightweight title. That's going down starting at 9 p.m. Eastern time on Showtime Pay-Per-View. And we will start here with the essentials.
Okay, here we go once again. Gervonta Davis, 27-0, 25 knockouts. Garcia 16-0 with 10. Obviously, they're both 5-0 in their last 5. Davis with 4 knockouts. Garcia 1 knockout. And that doesn't, by the way, the 5-0 doesn't count 1 no contest. Last fight for Gervonta Davis was Rolando Ramiro. That was a TKO 6 in May. For Garcia, he outpointed Roger Gutierrez in August. 93% knockout ratio for Davis, one of the best in the game. 53% for Garcia. 114 rounds, professional rounds for Garcia. 114 rounds for Davis. 91 for Garcia. Davis is 28 years old. Garcia 31. Davis turned pro in 2013. Garcia in 2016. They're both southpaws. Here's one advantage, I guess, for Garcia. Davis is 5'5.5". Garcia is 5'9". Although Davis has a very, very slight reach advantage, 67.5 inches to 67. Davis is from Baltimore and Garcia is from the Dominican Republic.
You know, it's interesting. Given his height, I feel like Davis's reach is that much more pronounced. I've always felt like that is something, even before I knew what the numbers were. In fact, I'm surprised really it's taller. That low. Yeah, he's really got taller. Long arms, and it's deceptive. I once heard Floyd Mayweather say that one of his best attributes were how long his arms were.
Oh, that's interesting. I never heard that.
And I feel it's the same way with Tank Davis. Let's talk about Garcia, though, because this is certainly not a tune-up ahead of a potential Ryan Garcia showdown for Gervonta Tank Davis. What makes Hector Luis Garcia so dangerous?
Well, first, he's a good, well-schooled boxer. Remember, he was a 2016 Olympian for his native Dominican Republic. And he's an aggressive fighter by nature. You put those two things together and you get a guy who applies really smart pressure from beginning to end, as we saw in his victory over Chris Colbert, big upset last year. He showed in that fight that smart pressure can diffuse even a good athletic opponent like Colbert. Yeah. And he seems to have a good chin on top of everything else. I think he's a handful for anyone, honestly, including Davis, at least on paper.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, he had a fantastic 2022, and looking at his background, it wasn't by accident. Now, I mentioned, of course, the Ryan Garcia fight, which everyone was talking about. Could Davis be overlooking this Garcia by already having his next fight booked?
I guess that's always a possibility. Something like that pops up periodically. But I think Davis and his team are savvy enough to know that overlooking anyone could be a disaster. I mean, it's just so basic in boxing. And you almost think that with the Garcia fight coming up next, and that's like a mega fight, a super fight. You don't want to screw up and lose this fight, then everything goes down the drain. Yeah. I think he's going to be ready for Garcia. He watched Garcia's fights against Colbert and Roger Gutierrez just like we did. I think Tank knows that Garcia is no pushover.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking of Tank, of course, he's officially in his prime at 28 years old. He's won 5 world titles through 3 divisions, still undefeated, one of the best knockout punchers in the sport. Yet, quite a few people feel he's still underrated. Some feel he is overrated. How good is Gervonta Davis?
Well, we've talked a lot about that. I think he has a rare combination of ability and power. As simple as that. He's an exceptional boxer, including underrated defensive skills. I'll always emphasize that because he's a terrific defensive fighter. And he can end any fight with one punch. I mean, he's a one-punch knockout artist, essentially. I really like other young guys like Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney, or very special boxers. But I think they're a step behind Davis because of his power. I mean, that's just... that for me, that puts him over the edge. Plus, Davis has this relaxed, confident demeanor in the ring, which I really like. It was like he was born to be in there, and he's durable. Also, I don't remember ever seeing him hurt, although I could be forgetting a moment, but I just don't. None pops into my mind. I would ask any critic of Davis, what's the weakness?
Right, exactly. I mean, he's got almost every attribute that any other top fighter would have. Incredible athleticism, speed, and then power, tenacity, and then you add on that the power I mentioned, you add on that incredible power, and I mean, you've got a pound for pound fighter. How do you expect this fight to play out?
I think Garcia is going to do his thing, which is to go after Davis, and the pressure will present some problems, I think, early in the fight. Davis is going to have to stay calm, weather the storm, pick his spots, and then gradually take over. I think the problem for Garcia in this fight is that this isn't the best matchup for him. The best way to stop an aggressive opponent is to stop him in his tracks with powerful punches. Colbert didn't have those. Davis does have those. Plus, Garcia is moving up in weight. That's tough to do against any fighter, but he's doing it against Gervonta Davis. I think Davis is going to start hurting Garcia by mid-fight, and I think he's going to stop him late in the fight.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I think that Garcia is going to present some problems, and Davis is going to have to make adjustments. But, again, another underrated attribute of Davis is his ring IQ. So I expect him to take his time to break Garcia down and then to end it, as always, in spectacular fashion. I'm going with Davis by late round TKO as well. Now, in the co-feature, speaking of spectacular, your guy, Jaron Boots Ennis, the undefeated welterweight sensation, takes on Karan Chukadze, I believe is how you pronounce his name.
Chukadze is as good a guess as I have.
This is a 12 rounds for the IBF interim welterweight title. And, of course, we have talked about Jaron Ennis ad nauseum on this podcast, but I must ask you again, Mike, what makes this guy so good?
Go back to what I just said about Davis. He has both unusual ability and unusual power. I think he's might have more power than pound for pound than anyone, honestly. I'm not sure. I mean, I give that title to Deontay Wilder at the moment, but man, when Ennis connects, it's over. I happen to think that Ennis actually has a higher upside than Davis because I think he's faster and he's more athletic than Davis, even though Davis is both of those things. But I think they're similar in a lot of ways. Maybe Davis is a more clever boxer. We'll see how Ennis's career plays out in that regard. Anyway, I have the same question for Ennis that I have for Davis. You need to show me what the flaw is, because I really don't see a major flaw. Of course, he still has to prove he can win at the highest level, but no one passes the eye test like he does.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're waiting to see him against the highest level because he looks so amazing. Of course, I would still like to see his chin tested. That's one thing, but he looks like he was, built to be a pound for pound boxer. I'm assuming you don't see any weaknesses in his game.
Well, I think I've said this in the past. He might be a little overconfident. I think he has a real fighting spirit. He's inclined to take risks if that's what it takes to hurt his opponent. You just mentioned the fact that you wanted to see him take a shot. I remember him getting tagged with a huge shot while he was going after Thomas Delorme in 2021. He took that punch like it wasn't even delivered, but it was unnecessary. He could end up getting hurt by a shot like that. He needs to keep that in mind. In my opinion, you can be brave, you can be aggressive, but don't be reckless.
Yeah, good point. What can you tell us about his opponent, Chukadze?
He's from what I can see, he's one of those well-schooled Ukrainian boxers. He could box. He's a good technician. I like his jab, which he uses. He's pretty athletic, and he has a little pop in his punches on top of everything else. I just see him as a solid guy. One problem for him is that this will be his first fight outside of Europe, which can always be a challenge. His last 4 fights were in Germany, where he's based, by the way. And of course, he hasn't seen anything like like Ennis. So this is a big step up for him. But I do think he's a solid guy.
Solid. So does he pose a threat to Ennis?
I think you have to say that he does because he's a good, polished boxer. Once again, he's a pro. That's another word I would use to describe this guy. He's a pro boxer. I just think that the threat is very small because of what he's up against.
Darn, I was hoping you were going to say that.
Yeah, I'm going to pick him to win this fight.
To win. So, who are you picking to win?
About 1,000 to 1 underdog. I think Chukadzian is going to learn quickly that Ennis has ridiculously fast hands and punches like a middleweight. He'll try to box, move, probably hold a little, defend off Ennis, but that'll work only for a short time. Ennis is going to start tagging him pretty early, break him down and stop him in the sixth or seventh rounds, somewhere in there. I just think Ennis is too good, too dynamic for this guy.
Yeah, give me Jaron Ennis by 5th round TKO. I think he busts this guy up, and the punches come too fast, too hard, too often, and he closes the show in fine fashion. The third bout on this amazing stack card features another undefeated welterweight, Speedy Rashidi Ellis, taking on Roman Villa in a 12-round battle. A lot of pundits believe this is the best fight on the card. Why is that?
I can see why some people would think that. Ellis seems to have a high ceiling with his natural gifts and his ability, but Villa is no joke. 24 of his 25 victories have come by knockout, which is a clear indication that the guy can crack. Even Ellis mentioned that to me in my interview with him. He said that's one thing that they're focused on is the guy's power. And based on what I've seen on YouTube, his power is real. It's not just like him beating up on second-tier guys. Ellis could be in for a surprise in this fight, but I think you're right. This could be an entertaining fight.
So assess Villa's game for us. Is it just the power, or is there more to it?
Well, to start with, he's actually a pretty good fluid boxer. I like the way he moved in the ring. That's not what he's known for. His thing is to rip your head off every time he throws a punch. He has these. I like guys who have punch in an unusual way. So he has these whipping punches that really hurt his opponents. Maybe he gets more torque that way somehow. I'm not sure, but you have to see it to really understand. And again, because he's clever, he knows how to land those punches. This guy really seems to have something from what I could tell. But of course, for him also, this is a big step up in opposition. Right. He has to beat a guy like Ellis before anyone could say he's like a championship material.
And what is it about Ellis that makes him a top welterweight?
Ellis is a terrific boxer with exceptional natural gifts, including his speed, hence his nickname, Speedy. He's no sticker and mover, though. This guy's a vicious fighter, particularly when he has you hurt. I watched his last fight against Joe Marufo. Man, he was just an absolute terror. I wouldn't say he's a one-punch knockout artist, that kind of fighter, but he has heavy hands that hurt his opponents. I think he's a complete fighter, quick, athletic, and physically strong guy. I think this guy's a threat. You have to say this guy's a threat to anyone.
So how do you expect this fight to play out?
I think Ellis is going to be too much for Villa. Villa will attack. That's how he fights, and he could hurt Ellis. He has that kind of power. I just think Villa's style is made for Ellis's. This is another thing I talked about with Ellis. The Venezuelan is going to be walking headfirst into a buzzsaw, which won't end well for him. I think Ellis is going to catch Villa coming in over and over again, break him down, and either stop him later or win a clear decision.
Yeah, I like Ellis too. I'm going with Ellis by clear decision with the possibility of a late round stoppage. I think this is his time to shine. Speaking of shining, Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade has finally entered the super middleweight division, making it one of the most stacked divisions in the sport. Andrade will kick off the pay-per-view televised portion against Damon Nicholson in 10-round 168-pound champion. Mike, was it time for Andrade to move to 168?
That's hard to say. We'll see how he looks on Saturday, obviously. I'll say this, though. He's been a full-fledged middleweight for more than 5 years, and he's 34 years old.
Yeah.
I'm not the least bit surprised that he's moving up in weight. I think his body is just evolving. He'll probably be more comfortable at 168, which could be dangerous for his opponents.
Yeah, look, this is one of the guys who's considered one of the more avoided fighters in the sport. He's won a world title at 154. He's won one at 160, but obviously 168 is a whole different world. Is he a threat to win a title there and or beat the elite in this division?
Oh, absolutely. I've been a big fan of Andrade's for a long time, because of his ability and his style. He's super quick, super skilled, and he has a really awkward style, which has confounded pretty much everyone he's faced in the ring. He's just been waiting and waiting and waiting for an opportunity to face a big name opponent. I'm guessing that'll happen now. Then we'll know for sure how good this guy is. But, back to that eye test, I've been a big fan of Andrade. I think he's a really tough out for anyone.
Yeah, awkward style.
Yeah.
The hand speed, the elusiveness, the power, great amateur background. He has so many tools, but now he is 34, as you mentioned. Have you seen any drop off in his game?
Nope. He's the same fighter he's always been, to my eye anyway. The guy obviously is very well preserved. Yeah, for one thing, he's very difficult to hit. It's really good defensive skills, and he's fought only 6 times in the last 5 years. So I expect him to be at full strength against this opponent and the opponents going forward.
What can you tell us about his opponent, Demond Nicholson?
He's a solid, experienced boxer, puncher. He's heavy hands. His problem is that he's fallen short when he stepped up in opposition. He lost to Steve Rolls, Jesse Hart, and most recently Edgar Berlanga. He was actually the first to take Berlanga the distance, which probably says something about his durability. But he went down 4 times in that fight. He rebounded from that loss to beat 3 second-tier guys. Anyway, I expect him to come to fight against Andrade, but I think that this is another situation where he's stepping up and he doesn't quite have the goods to beat a guy like Andrade.
What, if any? I mean, you're the type of person always you say that the other guy has a shot, maybe not the greatest shot, but a shot. What does he need to do to pull off the upset?
Well, Nicholson does have some power. I think he's going to have to hurt Andrade to take him out of his game, or maybe take him out, period. That's possible, but in my opinion, it's very unlikely. Otherwise, I think he's going to have a hard time against a boxer and an athlete like Andrade. I think Andrade is superior in pretty much every way.
So you're picking Andrade to win?
No, I'm going to go with Nick. No, yeah. Andrade outboxes him. I think he starts to hurt him as the fight goes on. Nicholson probably goes into survival mode. I could see that happening with him holding or moving. And Andrade either stops him later. He wins a really wide decision.
Yeah, it's interesting because Andrade can be awkward in the way he throws punches. I could see him getting an early knockout here. Surprising Nicholson with a shot he doesn't see coming and getting him out and making a big statement. But at the same time, if it goes some rounds, I think it gets very dangerous for Andrade fighting in a new division against a guy with decent pop. Who knows what can happen. That said, I'm going with Demetrius Andrade by convincing victory. Most likely a mid-round stoppage. It is time to bring in our next guest. He is a super featherweight contender, eager to get back in the win column and remind us of the great things we foresaw in him. Chris Primetime Colbert. All right, well, first things first, Happy New Year's to you. I got to ask.
Happy New Year's.
How were your holidays, man?
Shit, I can't complain. I spent time with my family. Do regular holiday shit. Finally, that I could actually enjoy a holiday.
Yeah.
I haven't had a holiday in like a couple of years. So I always fight right after or right there. So I ain't got the time to, get to spend time with my family and everything.
How's fatherhood treating you with the 2 little ones?
It's great, man. My daughter is a handful. So she be having me like all over the place.
How old is she?
Daddy's girl. She's my daughter or my son?
Yeah. Your daughter.
My daughter. No, I got a son and a daughter. My son is the oldest. My son is about to be 5 in May. My daughter's about to be 2 in February.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's cool. Listen, I ain't complaining, man. I'm blessed.
That's right.
Chris, it's been a while since we've seen you in the ring. Any word on when you might return?
Hey, we should be back in like end of February, beginning of March, or March latest. That's about it.
Very good. Can you give us any clues about an opponent?
Nah, I can't. Yeah, make sure it's official first.
Gotcha.
And then I can give you all the clues that I want. But when it's official, just know it's a statement fight. People usually come back and take tune-ups. I ain't got no time for that. I know deep down inside, everybody know deep down inside that wasn't me, that last fight. So we're gonna just do what we do best and win. Listen, like I said, I ain't making no excuses like saying I got robbed or anything like that. Like I just wasn't 100% that day. Like that's all it is.
We want to touch on that in a second, but I got to ask you, do you want to come back to 30 or are you looking at 135?
I'll probably come back at 135 for one fight, but I'm going back down to 30 because I need to get my title.
Yeah.
I'm not settling without getting my belt.
I respect it. I saw a few weeks back, your friend Gary Russell Jr. was talking about the face-to-face you guys had back at the I think in Brooklyn.
But that's all Gary Russell be doing is talking. He don't do nothing else. Gary Russell he good at that talking shit. Like I understand he had a point in his career where it's like his time and everything is off. So I understand. Like I know he ain't 100% get Mr. Gary Russell that we used to seeing. I still think Gary Russell's a great fighter, and me and him would be a hell of a fight. But he just got to be willing to take the fight.
So you're still interested in that fight?
Yeah, I mean, I like competition. I like to test myself.
Yeah.
I don't want to test myself. I don't want to test myself with a no name. Like that's not putting no respect on my name. If I beat a guy like Gary Russell, that's definitely gonna put some respect on my name. You know me?
Gotcha.
Understand.
I mean, not when I beat a guy like Gary Russell, if he ever take the fight.
There you go. So back to Garcia. You mentioned that wasn't you. Can you expand on that?
It's no excuses. I everybody got good days. Everybody got bad days. It was just a bad day. He capitalized on my bad day. But to be honest, people still ask me, like, do I think he's a good fighter? I don't think he's nothing special at all. I think he's actually like average. It just, like I said, he capitalized that night.
So, well, what lessons did you take away from that experience?
It really wasn't a lesson to me. It just, you feel me? I don't even really count that as like a lesson to me. I mean, I could have dieted better. It's just that I'm not used to having nutrition and things like that, so I got scared. I didn't want to follow the program that they had to the T because I didn't want to like they do that water load shit. I never did that, so that shit is scary to me to do that water load.
Would you do it now if you could, or?
Yeah, I mean I would. I'm gonna try it this camp, but besides that, I think I did everything proper. I think the delay of the fight the delay of put the light on something. The delay of the them kept pushing my fight back. I think that's what made it a little harder for me because I was in the gym for a long time and it just seemed like the fight would never come.
Yeah.
But I knew I should have just stick with my head, right? Because I always had this theory where I don't like to fight in Vegas. Every time I go to Vegas, I don't like to go to Vegas, period. Not just fight. Every time I go to Vegas, it's something new.
You know what?
Always.
You said that to us the last time you were on the podcast before the fight.
I swear to you, and that's how you know I'm really not just saying this because I lost. Like, every time I go to Vegas, it's always something. Always.
Now, we hear a lot of boxers saying, like, you take a loss. The hard part really is like the emotional part. Like, damn, I lost that fight. Was that?
Oh, no, yeah. I was fucked up for a while. Like, I was fucked up. Like, because I never expected to lose. Like, definitely. Like, and the crazy part is I lost to myself. Like, he didn't do much to beat me. I just didn't do nothing to beat him. He just did more than me that night. But yeah, it was definitely hard. The depression, just every time I listen to a song or something that I'm used to listen to, it just had me like, damn, like really lost to this guy.
Yeah. Does that make you more hungry? Like, I got to get that back. I got to, remind people.
Is when they give me a good fight. Like if they gave me a fight with somebody like a no name, like how fighters usually come back and take an easy route to get an easy win. I don't want that. It's when they give me somebody that's gonna really make me, yes, come on now. I'm a demonstrate on him. I'm gonna take out what I was supposed to do to him on him. I'm gonna demonstrate.
So that's what you want to do in your next fight is to get right back.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm gonna make a statement, 100%. No questions asked. Same old beat, same old primetime, same old beat, little beat hop, whatever y'all want to call me. Same old me is nothing ever gonna change. I'm always gonna talk that shit and I'm gonna walk that shit.
That's true.
So Garcia is going to be facing Tank Davis on Saturday night. How do you see that playing out?
I'm mad because I wanted to get the rematch with him, but when he get knocked out, it's not gonna be. It's a waste of time. Because at the end of the day, he's still like he got a little decent name right now because he beat me, he won the championship. And now he's fighting Tank, so Tank is giving him a bigger name, but he's still asking. And now that he get knocked out, I ain't gonna want to fight him. It's a waste of time. So like before he fought him, if I would have fought Gary Russell right after that, like a couple months after, when me and Gary Russell was trying to build it up, if I would have fought Gary Russell and beat Gary Russell, that loss would have been right under the rug to a lot of people because they would have been like, damn, he came back, he beat a name.
Right.
He lost to a no name, but he came back and beat a name.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't get that fight, unfortunately, but we just got to roll with the punches and do what God blessed me to do, and that's keep being me.
Well, you just told us how you think the fight's going to play out.
He's going to get knocked out.
Yeah. Would you still like a rematch with Garcia regardless?
No, not if he lose. I mean, they fighting at 135 or 30?
35.
35. He's moving up.
So maybe I might consider the rematch because he still have the belt.
You feel like he's gotten a big fight, so soon. I mean, like within 1 year from the time he fought you. Do you feel like that means you aren't far from a big fight yourself?
I knew I wasn't far from a big fight regardless, but I didn't think it would have been a Gervonta Davis fight because Gervonta Davis don't really fight. I never seen him really fight Americans. Like no racistness, but like my complexion people. He like fighting a lot of Spanish people.
Why do
I don't think Gervonta Davis. I don't know what it is, to be honest, but I just don't think it would have never been a Gervonta Davis fight. I think that's the fight they would have tried to build up to make it a big super fight.
What strikes me is just talking to you for a few minutes, Chris, is you seem confident. It seems like the loss didn't really, at least not long term, didn't affect your confidence.
Shit, I was almost out for a year in the ring. So it did. Nothing can affect my confidence. Listen, I came from the bottom. I've been homeless, and it was nice when we didn't know what we was going to eat. So confidence is always going to be there. My mom always made a way, so I'm going to make a way.
I like that. I know there was some talk that late last year you might fight Frank Martin. You guys went back and forth for...
Yeah, Frank Martin he just one of them guys that just talk. I don't think Frank Martin is a bad fighter. I think actually he's a good fighter. It would have been a hell of a fight, but I don't think there's levels to this boxing shit. Like Meek Mill said, there's levels to this shit, young boy, I just think I'm on a whole nother level than him. He's a basic fighter. He's living behind the next man's shadow. Errol Spence, and there's only one Errol Spence.
Yeah, what do you think of his performance against?
Oh no! Salute! Shout out to. I'm no hater. One thing I ain't is a hater. Shout out to him. That was a great performance. He really did his thing. I didn't think he was gonna win the fight, to be honest.
Wow.
But he went in there and did his thing. He embarrassed Michelle, but shit, that's boxing, God.
Yeah.
One day you might do good, and the next day somebody is just a better man. Yeah. He was definitely the better man that night. He did his thing. And like I told him after, let's dance. You won, you beat him, let's dance. I'm still here.
He was saying that, or not, maybe not necessarily him, but his team was saying that the issue was you, that you were, as far as the fight.
No, we both had dates. We both had separate dates. He wanted me to rush my camp to move up to his date. Why would I do that? I ain't no opponent. I'm not an opponent. Yeah. I'm still him. I'm always going to be him. There's only one me. I'm him. When they ask me who you, I'm him. I'm not about to rush myself to come up to your date to fight you. Yeah. For what? So it could be, look, I could have a decent performance and win? Nah, I look spectacular, brother. Coming off that fight, my last fight, I got to look spectacular. And there's no pressure on myself from other people. It's just pressure to me. Like, the pressure's coming from myself. Like, I got to look good. I got to look spectacular. I got to beat him, dominating fashion, make it look like he didn't even belong in the ring. And when they say, oh, Prime fought a nobody, I was a nobody, okay, that's what I say now, because I beat him. But before he was that guy, everybody thought he was going to give me a good fight.
So if you had to list like your top 3 opponents that you fight this year, who would they be?
The person I'm fighting next, I fight Frank Martin, and let's get a Gary Russell, just for the name.
What about Leo Santa Cruz? He's still out
I'll
there.
fight Leo Santa Cruz too, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely fight Leo. He's still out there, but he's just been a quiet guy.
Yeah.
So it's like the hype wouldn't be there because he's so quiet.
Well, you
Still
and
has a
him
name.
to be big.
Huh? Yeah, no, that's a big name. Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, talking wise, like, y'all know me. I come with.
He's soft spoken for sure.
Yeah.
You know me. I come with minimum words. I don't really come with too much words. So I need somebody that's gonna come with not too much words too.
So you're talking about possibly 35, then maybe going down to 30.
No, I'm going back down to 30 for sure.
So that's the plan. You want to campaign at 30.
Yeah, no, I want to win my belt at 30, and then I go up to 35.
I think you covered it all. I mean, we like what we like what we hear, and we like the hunger. I mean, and it's great. The fans haven't heard from you in a long time, man. And so it's
I don't care. I wasn't with the interviews. I really was never with the interviews. I'm not with the interview. I don't care for the interviews. Like, I'm not because then we're gonna go on the interview, right? We call people out, do all these big talk, fights don't happen, so it's a waste of time. Feel me?
Yeah.
Like they just come up here and do talking. Like, you see Gary Russell, he come up on the interviews, he just talk. Bro, we got the same manager. It's not hard. It's not hard to find me. What Dion said, I'm not hard to find.
You think he just doesn't want the fight, or what's the deal?
Huh?
You think he just doesn't want the fight? What?
I'm young and I'm fresh. I wouldn't want to fight me either. At his age. He been out for a while. He fight once a year. He's a good fighter, but that's not enough to beat a guy like me. You gotta fight more than that, cuz. You gotta be more consistent.
Yeah. But
you gotta be more consistent. People say, I've been in the gym. Being in the gym is different from fighting.
I got to throw a couple fights at you because I know you're a student of the game, and there's some fights that have reportedly been signed PBC, and I just wanted to get your opinion on a couple of them. First one, David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant. What's your take on that fight?
That's a hell of a fight. To me, it's all who shows up that night with the better game plan. They two tremendous fighters. David Benavidez is a monster. Caleb Plant is a monster. It seems like Caleb Plant came out more hungrier, even coming off that loss, and I like to see that. So that's a hell of a fight. It's a toss-up, 50-50. But like I said, whoever got the better game plan will come with the smarter mind that night and who's in better condition.
Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia.
Ryan Garcia is my boy, though. Like, I knew Ryan Garcia since we was kids. Like, I done hung out with him. Like, we hang out in California when I was out there with Kid Chocolate for camp. I had Ryan Garcia. I brought him down to the camp to hang with me. And it's like, that's my guy. But I just think he make a little bit too many mistakes.
Really?
And he do everything the same. Like, punch with his chin up, throw the jab. He's a hooker. And Gervonta Davis, he live in a town where there's a lot of hookers. And I ain't seen him get caught up with one of them yet.
That's hilarious. What about Errol Spence? Obviously, there are a lot of names out there for him. Terrence Crawford, Keith Thurman. What are your thoughts on those fights?
I just think Errol Spence is he's student names. Like, his IQ is crazy. He might not look like he do a lot of things different, but they can't capitalize on what he do great. You don't have, in this game, it don't take you to do a lot of things. To know how to do a lot of things, you just got to know how to do the basic things great and be disciplined, you're going to get it. And that's what he do. And he's crazy strong. So I think I don't really see nobody. Crawford to him, toss up, toss up, tremendous fight. But I just think he's going to be too big at the end of the day. Too strong.
I like it.
I seen him Crawford get hurt by too many little guys. But I know he know they little guys, so he took more risk than what he would take with Errol Spence. But I don't know. I think that would be the only fight that's give him a hard fight.
What about Errol and Keith?
No, he'll stop him. I think he'll stop Keith Thurman.
Well,
I really like Jaron Ennis. What do you think of Boots?
I think Boots is a tremendous fighter. I just think it's time and place for everything. Right now, it's not that time for him. Too young still. Like, still got to get some experience. I know they put in fighters in front of him that's decent, but they passed their time. They done. Right. But I think Jaron Ennis is a superstar, super future superstar. Like,
I agree.
When it's his time, it's his time.
Yeah.
When it's his time, it's gonna be his time, and I don't think nobody knocking that off.
We got to run, but we want to thank you once again, man. Let's try and when we get that fight date, we're waiting on your fight date. When you get that fight date, come back on again. And
I got you for sure.
Yeah, we'll have plenty to discuss once again. Can't wait. Do what you got to do.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all for having me on here.
Yeah, keep that focus, and 2023, another big year for you, man.
Yes, sir.
4 straight sellouts, 3 division championships.
Lethal left uppercut.
The one and only Gervonta Tank Davis puts his perfect record on the line against one of the fastest rising boxers in the sport. Unbeaten Hector Luis Garcia, plus knockout artist Jaron Boots Ennis. Tank Davis versus Hector Luis Garcia, Saturday, January 7th, live on pay-per-view.
It's time for Mike and I to go toe-to-toe. Now, as many of you saw last week, PBC announced its year-end award winners, had a whole bunch of great categories that we want to go over and decide whether or not we agree. So we'll kick things off with the PBC Prospect of the Year, Michael Angeletti. Mike, why do you think your namesake won this award?
Well, I like Angeletti. I don't see him as like a super dynamic, super quick, super athletic guy. He just has really good, tight, economical technique. Excuse me. He looks more seasoned than a guy who turned pro in December 2020. And just as important, he's gifted with heavy hands. He's another guy. It doesn't even look like his punches are going to hurt the other guy, but they do. If you go back and watch his fights, you'll see that he hurts these guys. Hence the 6 knockouts in 7 fights. So I think this guy's got a high ceiling. I really like Angeletti, and if I were to choose the Angeletti, he would be my choice too.
So he was your choice for Prospect of the Year.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Let's move on then. PBC Breakthrough Performer of the Year, Hector Luis Garcia. Mike, why was this guy, Mr. Garcia, given this award?
Yeah, this was almost a no-brainer. It has to be Garcia. He went from relative unknown to a star and a major player in the sport in 2 fights. The victory over Chris Colbert was the eye-opener, obviously. Colbert was a rising star, and Garcia just handled him, with intelligent, relentless pressure, the kind of pressure I mentioned earlier. And then he did the same against Roger Gutierrez to win his first major world title. If that's not a significant breakthrough, then I don't know what is. Huge year for him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a no-brainer as far as this guy, Hector Luis Garcia, winning a Breakthrough Performer of the Year, and some might say even Fighter of the Year based on what he did in 2022. Speaking of Mr. Garcia, the PBC Upset of the Year was Hector Luis Garcia over Chris Colbert. And Mike, why was Garcia the award winner here?
Yeah, another no-brainer. Well, yeah, I guess it's if it's not a no-brainer, it's close. I honestly thought Colbert was pound for pound material. He might still be. Who knows? One loss doesn't eliminate you. Obviously, he still has talent. He's a naturally gifted and excellent boxer. He doesn't have, as I mentioned, he doesn't have a ton of power, but he has or had everything else that you need to be successful. That's why it was so surprising to see Garcia essentially overwhelm him in that fight. I think you need to keep Garcia honest with hard punches. I don't think Colbert had the power to do that. The result was the biggest upset of 2022.
Yeah, and of course, compounding it was the fact that Garcia was basically took the fight on less than 2 weeks' notice, and
that could hurt both guys. But in this case, maybe it hurt Colbert more. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. All right, let's move on to the next topic: PBC Upset. We just discussed that topic. I was like, man, Hector Luis Garcia just swept the awards. Let's go to the next one. PBC Knockout of the Year, Caleb Plant knocking out Anthony Durrell in 9 rounds last October. Mike, why was the Plant's KO the award winner?
It's hard to top Plant's stoppage. That was just a left hook from absolute hell. It was a perfect punch. I don't want to pick on Durrell, who I really respect and like a lot. But did you see his eyes the split second after the punch landed? He was out instantaneously when that punch landed. It was a huge, huge shot. I don't believe that like Durrell was ripe for something like that. I thought he looked good until that moment. He just got caught with an epic shot. That was quite a moment. It actually wasn't my choice. Maybe I was being like a contrarian in the moment that I was preparing for this. But I think I would have gone with Wilder over Helenius. I leaned toward that because Wilder was coming off the losses to Fury. We weren't 100% sure, what he'd have after those fights. And remember, Helenius was a hot guy. He was coming off those impressive knockouts of Adam Kovnatsky. I thought he was going to give Wilder some resistance, and then bam, that short right made it a short night. And Deontay Wilder was back just like that. So maybe slightly more important fight than Plant Durrell. I don't know, but for some reason, that's the one that jumped out in my mind.
Yeah, I think that was it was certainly one of the candidates for knockout of the year. And as many times as Deontay Wilder has knocked out opponents in the first round, it's still a surprise. It's still electric when he does it. So I think that's certainly a strong choice. You can't go wrong with either one, in my opinion. What about PBC Fight of the Year? The winner was Erickson Lubin versus Sebastian Fundora. Fundora, of course, with a thrilling late round stoppage. What do you think of that?
Well, as I said in the last podcast, I just love that fight. It had so much drama. Lubin went down in the second round. Fundora went down in the seventh. I really thought Fundora might be finished at that point. When you're forced to take a knee, you're in really bad position. But he bounced back to deliver just a brutal beating in the final few rounds that prompted Lubin's corner to stop the fight. That was just a wild and wildly entertaining fight, I guess, for everybody except for Erickson Lubin. Really fun to watch.
Yeah. And I think Lubin gained a whole new legion of supporters, following that fight. And he gave a brilliant, tough, warrior-like effort in the face of Fundora's assault. And Lubin, doled out a lot of his own shots, too. Let's move on to the PBC Performance of the Year, and that was Errol Spence Jr. versus Yordenis Ugas. Spence becoming a 3-belt champion by stopping Ugas in the 10th round. Electric night, an electric atmosphere. Mike, why did Spence get the award?
It seems like Spence gives a special performance every time out. Ugas had just beaten Manny Pacquiao, which sort of lifted him to star status, a new level of respect. He's just an excellent, experienced boxer, obviously. And Spence was just better than him in every way, in my opinion. He outboxed him fairly easily, I thought, and gradually just beat him up, which led to the stoppage. I mean, Ugas's face at the end was really busted up. Spence just underscored what I already thought about him going into that fight, that he's one of the very best in the business. I'm not sure that anyone could beat this guy.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fantastic performance. I know what to expect from Errol, given what he'd been out of the ring for 17 months, 16 months, something to that effect, with that retina injury. And then, of course, there was the car accident. So you're wondering what kind of Errol are you going to see? And we perhaps saw the best version. I mean, he was great that night. From the outside, the inside, and broke down an excellent fighter in Yordenis Ugas. Now,
I did have another choice, though, just to be a contrarian again. I didn't go with Spence, and the reason I didn't go with Spence is because I really expected, to see what actually did happen. So there was no surprise there whatsoever for me. As good as I thought the performance was, I actually prefer Fundora's performance over Spence's because I didn't expect it. Number one, Lubin was on a roll. I thought he was going to win that fight. I'm pretty sure I picked him to win that fight on the podcast. And number two, Fundora had to overcome some serious adversity to deliver the biggest win of his career.
He did.
One that left like little to no doubt about this guy's place among the better fighters in the sport. I was really, really impressed, and I know I wasn't alone with his performance. That was a big, big step for him. So yeah, I picked that one over Spence.
I don't blame you. And I think that, no matter who you pick to win, were you expecting that? I mean, I certainly wasn't,
Fundora is so much fun to watch. It just seems like every fight. Yeah.
Always. And Lubin showed us that, hey, he's down to get down with with anybody. All right, final award, of course, the PBC Fighter of the Year, and the choice was Jermell Charlo. Mike, why was he the winner in this category?
I agree with the choice of Charlo. He had only one fight, last year, but it was a big fight, a big performance and a big victory. He avenged a draw with Castaño by winning convincingly in the rematch to become the undisputed junior middleweight champion. It just doesn't get much bigger than that.
Yeah.
I think he might have still had some doubters, going into that fight, maybe in part because of the draw, but I don't think that people had any doubts after that fight. Like I've said on previous podcasts, you don't want to fight this guy a second time because he's going to kick your ass. And I think in the end, that's what he did with Castaño. He just kicked his ass. And I think in the process, he proved, beyond doubt that he's one of the best handful of fighters in the world.
Yeah, without question. I mean, he's my choice for Fighter of the Year following that incredible performance. And then you add in all the stakes, undisputed super welterweight championship, coming off the disputed draw, and to deliver that kind of performance, I think says a lot about Jermell Charlo. And that's going to do it for this week's PBC podcast. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Of course, don't forget Saturday night Showtime Pay-Per-View, Gervonta Tank Davis versus Isaac Cruz, a battle of unbeaten world champions at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., not to mention the stacked undercard. You definitely don't want to miss that. And we'll be right here next week to talk all about it on the PBC Podcast.